Harold, how long have you been bow hunting?
David, I was thinking here the other day, when I first started bow hunting, was I believe in 1957.
I can't count that many far years back.
I don't look that old, do I?
No, you don't. You don't know the truth?
No.
1957.
1957. I started hunting. I was living in Land Between the Lakes, and our farm joined the old Kentucky Woodland National Wildlife Refuge. And of course, it was just a reunion every year to get to go there and watch the people come in from all over the United States to hunt. And one of the people that came was Fred Bear, and I remember that. And I wasn't old enough to hunt when Fred started coming down, and I can remember him giving me some old arrows, because I didn't have nothing to shoot out, an old wooden bow, and I was trying to, shoot a bow and didn't have nothing, didn't know nothing. But anyway, I'd have give anything if I had kept some of those old arrows. But you know what I done with them? I shot at squirrels, I shot at rabbits, I shot them, broke them. Didn't keep a one of them.
That's out of hindsight's 2020.
Oh yeah.
Well, have you ever thought about how bow hunting has been revolutionized as far as, well, it has changed as far as equipment is concerned. When we look back from 1950s, and I wasn't hunting quite then, but I was in the 60s. I started out with an old recurve bow because that's all there was, and then graduated finally to a cable bow, and now they've got compound bows, and these things shoot like rifles.
Well, bows in the last 10 years, David, are so much faster than they were. It's hard to even comprehend just how much faster they are. But they're much faster. They're better. The arrows are straighter. The arrows are made out of fiber. Aluminum and carbon, and then you got your ACC arrows, which is graphite aluminum, and it's come a long way.
The fact is, folks, welcome to our 10th annual Whitetail video. We've got some great hunts coming up this year. Probably the best big buck video, Harold, we've ever shot. And when we talk about that, let's tell the folks just a little bit about what we have got. We went to about 6 or 7 different states, and everywhere we went, we were fortunate enough to either see or get big bucks. And I think the first thing we want to talk about is the one that got away.
You know, the big one always gets away, seems like. That was in Kansas.
That was in Kansas, and of course, you killed just a tremendous buck in a 170-inch range up in Illinois. Walter Parrott did the same thing.
Walter killed a great deer with a muzzleloader, a super deer.
We got a big 200-inch something mule deer killed with a muzzleloader in Colorado.
And your big buck.
Well, we'll show that later on. But I did get a nice buck in Kentucky, and then of course we had the Tennessee buck that was killed. Derek Phillips killed a good one down there in the 150-inch range.
That was a great calling segment too, David. That was as good a calling segment I've ever looked at, I believe, in deer calling. That deer responded to that call big time and came right to you.
Well, before you and I give away too many secrets, what do you say we take a look at that video?
This is getting to be one of my favorite time of year. This is the first day of fall. Our season's been in about 2 weeks. Just now beginning to hunt because we had a cool spell to come through. That's what I've been waiting on. We had a front to come through and cool things off. We hunting about a half a mile to 3/4 mile from the highway. I can hear the truck traffic on it. But I tell you what, it's still out here today. I feel just a little bit of breeze, but I can hear and see good from this stand. I feel confident in a stand like this.
Harold Knight is hunting in late September and has chosen a stand location back in the shade close to where an old logging road leads into a small field. Harold's first visitors are a group of gobblers, but they don't stick around long.
There's a couple of does coming across this creek, coming to this weed patch right here, looks like, Dave.
A couple of yearlings move in close to Harold's stand, and that's a good sign that deer are on the move. It's the first cool front of the year, and Harold has been waiting for just this opportunity to begin his bow season.
compact is a good buck.
Harold scans the area with his Burris semi-compact binoculars. It doesn't take long for this big 8-pointer to get close on the old logging trail. He stays behind some cover, but Harold knows he's working toward an opening that will provide a perfect shot.
Just a little bit high, but it was angling down. I feel good about that shot. I believe I shot all the way through it. Boy, right here's a good sign. I shot all the way through it. Look at there. Shot all the way through that dude. I like it. Blood. I like it. Show up this bank right here. Now he's gonna go on top of that hill, I don't believe. Here's sand right here. Hey, I see him right yonder. Look yonder. Laying over. Right yonder he is.
You know, this is the end of September, and deer on food sources. We put our stand up between two food sources. One was a wheat field, new wheat field, and another was a corn field. Put it right on the creek. And you know, putting it on that creek, I can't tell you how far I could hear a deer walking today, even though I could hear some road traffic and different sounds, but I could hear those deer that sound like elk walking in this creek off these hills. You know, this time of year, deer still bunched up. This deer just happened to be coming down the same path where some other deer had been coming in, crossing to come to this cornfield. And I had a good close shot, 20-yard shot. That's what I like. And I knew I hit him good. And I tell you what, this is a good deer, and I am tickled to death to kill him with anything. And I just did happen to use my Matthews bow today, that LX. But I tell you something else that really, really helped was being concealed with our scent. You know, we had that scent suppressant Gore-Tex suit on. We had stealth dust. We took all kinds of precautions today. Dave and I did to dust down good and have our suits on. And I can tell you what, I think it really helped. Don't think I know it did. You know, it's getting dark. I'm gonna have to get this deer out of here. Man, I always like to get them before it gets dark though. A great hunt.
Now what we got around us here is about a 10 or 15 acre clear cut up there. It's a great big thicket and these deer are laying up in it. And there's a clear cut over here, and right through here is a cedar thicket. I love to hunt a cedar tree. It just covers your smell so well.
at the end of this holler, and we're at the very end of it, not down the bottom, we're at the very end where it comes down out of the hills. There used to be an old spring here, because there's an old home place here. There's a couple of old buildings down here. Somebody used to live here years ago. I'd like to know a little history about it. Because there's lots of things going on in the old hills and hollers, from moonshining to whatever. But there's one thing you always know. Where you find an old home place like this, there's got to be water close by, because people didn't have it. There was automatic taps back like we got this day and time years ago. And usually when they become vacant, deer move in. That's what I really, really like. I haven't never found a home place that didn't have a lot of deer around it. Usually it's an old apple orchard or something brings them there, but I think in this case here, not only do you have a thicket here close, but you got that old salt lick around that barn down there that come out of the well where they used to hang meat years and years ago. And one thing that I did was, when I came up that trail down there, I found one scrape and I put some cold blue in it. I don't know that that's going to help. I know it's not going to hurt. It's a good safety valve for me to always try to get deer, and I got him where I got a shooting lane to that scrape in case he stops and smells it. I really like to use the cold blue estrus in heat. This is the time of year when the bucks are in rut. If you're ever going to use it, now's the time. Because they're on the prowl. I expect to see something anytime here.
David Hale, using his translator deer grunter, sends buck grunts into the area, hoping that a buck will come and investigate the one that has invaded his territory. It isn't long before a doe shows up, cruising for acorns. But with a combination of stealth dust, mossy oak camo, and a cedar limb for cover, David's confident he'll not be detected.
This doe's right under the tree, Pete. Here comes a buck.
With this hot buck on the prowl, David's in luck with the doe acting as a decoy. Sure enough, she brings him right under the stand.
He slipped up here chasing that doe. He grunted, coming across that highway, he grunted. He couldn't take a lot of that because he ran right down there and piled up. That old doe's still under me down there. She ain't never figured out yet what happened. That was a pretty neat hunt. He came all the way down across that holler, looking at this doe stand up there eating his acorns. there's that old barn there that they used to hang meat in. Right at the end of this holler. Right down here's that old house place, and that deer fell right over in yonder, and I don't see him because it's right above his clear cut. He fell in that thick stuff now. But let's go see if we can find him. And he ain't got much left there. Here he is. There's where it went in. I don't know what rib number that is, but that's pretty high up, going straight down. That's both lungs. He couldn't take any of that. I mean, that's just rough on a whitetail buck. But I guess what made this hunt successful, this doe came down the hill, and we had found a trail. And this one doe came down the hill, and she was eating acorns and milling around. I don't know what she smelled to our feet where we walked in or what, but she wasn't scared. But she was milling around under the tree we was in, picking up a little acorn here and there. And I was watching her, and all of a sudden I saw her stop and just eyeball out that way. And anytime a deer's ears are standing straight up and then just kind of turn, she's pointing something. And I looked in that direction, I could hear this deer walking, even in the wind, I could hear him walking. And he come out of this big thicket back here. And he spied her standing over there, and I mean, he made a beeline right to her, just coming high rack and coming down through there. And when he got up close, he dropped that nose to the ground, and he charged at her like, are you in heat or not? Folks, when that happens, the deer in the rut. When I shot him, he made a full circle, came all the way back. He tried to head back home to his thicket. Didn't make this one. But you know what? Anytime you can see a deer respond in rut like that, I'd rather have this one right here than a 150-incher that wasn't doing anything. This guy performed. You know, the Easy Grunter Plus has been Knight Hale's #1 seller for years. It's always been our traditional standby, and it's still a good call. The fact is, it's still one of the calls that we use every day. But folks are always asking us to come up with something a little more convenient, a little different. And this year, Knight Hale has come out with a translator call, and what that basically means is, it's about 4 different calls in one. Instead of having 3 or 4 calls hanging around your neck, we've got it all compiled into one just by extending the tube. And of course, you can get your basic grunt call out of it. That's just as good a sound as you want to make. And then you can make a clicking sound of a buck tending a doe. That's your tending sound. And then if you want to extend it a little bit, you can get a doe bleat. And then, when you really want to get quiet, I guess you could call it a 4-in-1. It's a multi-purpose call. It's Knight Hale's new translator. It is a really, really good product.
Boy, it's hot today. I'm burning up. But so are these bucks. Man, we picked this place right here. It's real thick. It's a good travel corridor. They ought to be coming through here. I tell you what, there's a front coming in tonight. And if it does, they ought to be hot today. Man, I hope they're not as hot as I am.
On this unseasonably warm October afternoon, pro staffer Gary Keaton has decided to hunt an oak flat that the deer are really tearing up. Almost immediately after Gary gets settled in his stand, deer began to filter into the flat to eat the abundant acorns. A young buck catches Gary's attention, and he moves in to check out some of the does feeding close by. This guy will grow up to be a dandy in a few years.
It's good when you got a lot of does in the area you're hunting. These acorns are playing out. I saw a little forkhorn just about 10 minutes ago following the doe, but that big one's gonna come. That's a good sign.
With his arrow securely in place, thanks to the whisker biscuit, Gary watches as a few more deer show up on the scene.
I hear deer walking down there.
Well, after a couple of grunts from the hands-free Easy Grunter, Keaton spots the buck he has been waiting on, working toward his shooting lane.
He's down, all right. Whew, wait a minute. I heard this deer behind me, walking. I picked up this soft grunter and I hit it a couple times. And then all at once, I hear this deer back over here. I turn around and here comes this big son of a buck coming right at me. Whew. Boy, that's what I like about shooting at rocket steelhead extreme. When you hit one right, you hear them fall. Let's go get him. See what I mean? That's a pretty sight right there. Oh man, what an 8-pointer. What a deer. Whew, that's one time I'm glad I had that whisker biscuit on there. When I stood, I had to stand up real fast and I laid that bow around. And man, I was nervous, and I thought that thing gonna fall off at rest, but it don't with that whisker biscuit. And I tell you what, that's one time you really need to carry a grunt call with you every time to the woods. When I grunted at that deer in front of me, I used that soft grunter right there, and I tell you what, and we look behind us, and how the dog of fisting doesn't come up on me. Oh man, you need to take one in the woods with you every time. Good gracious, I'm nervous, and this is a fine deer. Ooh, what a deer.
Folks, this is a place I really want to hunt, but this afternoon the wind's not right, so I'm going to hunt further down in the woods in another location. But let me tell you why I want to hunt here. See all this cover? These deer have been working this area, and it's the beginning stages of rut in western Tennessee. We've found very little sign, but I've found one set of scrape lines right along this wood edge here. And I've hung my Summit lock-on stand and trimmed the edge, a couple shooting lanes for myself up to these scrape lines. But the wind's not right, so tomorrow morning maybe it will be. There's a deer. It's a good body.
Derek Phillips of Matthews Bows is in place early the next morning.
He's got his head down. Let's see if I can get him to lift his head. He's got him facing this way. Oh yeah. Oh, that's a good buck. Oh yeah. See, we can start him this way.
When you are hunting pre-rut whitetails in an area that has hot buck sign, a deer call can be one of the best tools to use. Derek's favorite is the Easy Grunter because it creates realistic buck grunts, and as you can see, bucks will come to it.
Get my bow. I gotta turn around here. He's behind that cedar tree.
All deer respond differently to a deer call. This big boy is taking his time feeding along, but he definitely knows where the buck grunts are coming from.
Oh, you heard that?
He is scent checking every small tree, looking for his competition. The wind is in Derek's favor. Now it's a waiting game as our hunter fights to control his nerves.
He's going down. He's down. He's belly up. Not gonna have to track him. I like that.
Derek, it's not often you get to see on video exactly as they transpire what happens when you call in deer. By the way, congratulations on this buck right here, man. This is one fine animal.
No doubt.
But you
Thank
know,
you, sir.
we were able to see that deer out there, and I've always contended, anytime you can visually see an animal when you call into it, their response will dictate how much or how little calling to give, and boy, you did that just right.
Well, I've been fortunate on several occasions when I've been able to see the animal to use the grunt call effectively. And no question that today it worked like a charm.
He responded right to it. And of course, there's 2 or 3 key things here. First of all, this is a dominant buck. So he's going to respond to it one way or the other. And the second thing is, he was out there by himself, walking along the edge of that field. I don't know whether he was feeding, smelling does, or whatever he was doing, but when he came back in the woods, responding to the calling and walked over and started making that scrape, I knew then, buddy, you've been had.
Yep. And a big lesson, though, is being able to see him, we knew to be patient.
That's
and
exactly
and
right.
to wait. That it was going to happen, that we had to give it time.
Well, you know, another thing, too, you had some lanes cut there, too. That was critical. Because this woods was thick up there where we was at along the edge. But the reason that we chose that spot right there, just so the being on his nose, there was a rub and a scrape right there. And we were having a hard time finding rut signs, but this old boy here obviously had left his signal in the area, didn't he?
Yep, sure did. And, you know, the cedar tree that he was behind most of the time, that might cause a person or a hunter a little bit of alarm. but actually it worked in our benefit.
Yeah, you were
because
sitting there whispering to me what he's doing. I said, thank him. I said, man, you're going to scare that buck. But man, he walked up around that cedar tree. You couldn't quite see him there, but you was all, at one time you let your bow down.
Yep.
But, you know, that's being able to, speaking of that, being with Matthew's bows like you are, there's no telling how many times you've let that bow down, is it?
Quite a few times. And, you know, a hunter, when he's practicing, he needs to know he needs to let his bow down occasionally and learn that technique to teach himself that he can do it. And he can do it effectively in the woods. You know, the deer was behind that cedar tree. We couldn't really see him, maybe his legs or something, and he couldn't see us. So it worked. It gave us more time. I was able to relax, settle down, gain my composure again, and when he started moving again, went to full draw and got ready.
When you drew it that first time, I thought to myself, what is he doing? He's going to have to wait 5 minutes. That buck ain't going to walk up there that quick. But it worked out, buddy. Congratulations.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate it.
When I'm bow hunting, I have 2 grunt calls with me. I have this new translator right here for a loud grunt. And I'm gonna have this little soft grunter here for your soft grunt when that deer gets in close, where I can put it in my mouth and pull my bow back. Where I can stop that deer where I want him. You know, this little call here is a soft call. It's real comfortable to put in your mouth. In real cold weather, you can inhale on it where it won't freeze, or you can turn it around and exhale on it if it's weather where it's not freezing. Super little call.
Harold Knight has chosen a stand along the edge of a large tract of timber bordering a narrow pasture field. Using his Burris binoculars, Harold spots deer moving his way. It's the pre-rut of early November. Anything goes with whitetail deer during this time of the year, and deer can show up at any hour of the day.
Yonder comes a doe in a pond. The way these deer bucks been chasing these does, we better keep our eyes peeled. Here comes another doe. Yonder comes a good buck, following right behind that doe.
Now, with the fall colors in full swing, the sight of a wide buck following a doe is heart-thumping. Harold uses his steady ready to help hold his bow in place and takes aim.
What a deer. Did you see that knocked that deer down? Man alive. Man alive. I can't take much of that. I got a good hit on that deer.
You know, things got pretty confusing when they got in here close. And I told David I was going to shoot the first good deer that come close enough, and I did. What this deer done, I think he was scared of the other deer because he walked out away from that doe. When this other deer come up, I wasn't watching that other deer. I had my eye on him, and I'm glad David had the camera on him because he was getting pretty confusing because I could hear deer walking, and I knew there's 2 bucks there. Looked like we made the right. I picked the right deer. I know I did because David said he got him. Whew, boy, that's exciting. Let's do a clip right here. I'm going to get your hands up. You won't let up that hollow there, I'd be.
I see him.
You see him?
Yeah.
How far is he? I don't see him. Is he dead? Whereabouts is he?
He's not 20 yards from me.
You gotta be kidding me. Oh, I see him right there. My God. Sitting right there, that shows you how you walk right by one. Man alive, let me tell you something. He ain't got no shrinkage. You know, a lot of times I big eye things like a fish or deer. Buddy, he's just as big as I thought he was. I guess I'm gonna have to jump in this hole with him. Look at here. Oh, man. Look at there. Woo! Thank you, dear Lord. Man alive. That's a great deer. That might be my biggest one ever with a bow. Woo!
Yes, sir. But this is the time of year, Harold, when things will happen. This is getting right. This is the 1st of November. It's time for it to happen.
This is when you see deer like this. You don't see them any other time of year except when they run those does.
You know, the only way you can tell you got a deer like this around is when you take them little Moultrie cameras and stick them out at nighttime. And you know, we've got about 200 pictures. Didn't have one of this. Most of the pictures we got of those, but that's all right.
Well, we had some fairly good bucks, but I don't remember seeing this buck.
Well, that's the only way you can tell what kind of inventory you got as far as what shows up. But you know what? I don't know where this one came from, but I know where he's going.
I do too. I take.
What I want to do is tell you just exactly how we try to set a hunt up, especially in early season. This is the 1st of October. Acorns haven't started falling yet real good. But what this used to be, an old farm, it had a bunch of hogs and a bunch of cattle on it. It's not that anyway anymore, but there's a pond right here and a little 2-acre plot here that we have just put wheat in. This is the preparation that we've made. We stay out of it, let deer start using it, have a comfort zone in here. On the other side of this food plot, there's an old logging road that goes to a little pond. It's between thickets. I have never seen nothing like the tracks that are in here right now. So what we want to do is just walk up here and give you an idea. Now, we don't disturb this area. We come in here and hunt it. We don't monkey around a whole lot. We know the deer are here. We got our stands already up. All we got to do is climb in them. They've been up for a while. And what we've done is we've got it between food sources and thickets. This is the time of year when you've got to hunt that way. So let's just walk up here and take a peek at the lay of the land. Here's your pond right here. This is where these deer are watering. The bank is just loaded with deer tracks because it's been hot and dry. We've had a little shower. They're not having to water in it as much, but they're still using it. Doesn't make any difference. We're not going to hunt over the pond anyway. It's here. It's the water source. You can see out yonder, it's green. See the wheat we got in the background? It's all flat up here. We're going to hunt in the woods. I don't like to hunt on the outer edge, but you can see all the way around this thing. It's just one big thicket. So what you got to do is catch these deer going from thicket to food source. That's what we're going to try to do. We're going to set our stand up in the open woods where we can see, and where these deer have a safety zone, a quarter that they're going to travel through. That's where we're funneling them down between these zones right here. Let's go around this way. See, you just saw your pond, now your wheat. We're going to go on the other side of it, take a quick look. We're not going to hunt this for about 3 days, and we're just going to appear in the stand just like a ghost, because that's usually what the deer do, just appear. The only downside, if there is a downside to this piece of property right here, it's near a highway and there's a lot of highway traffic. It hurts you being able to pick up hearing sounds. But who cares when you got this many deer involved in a food plot? What really makes this hunt good is these deer like to walk out and look. They just like to look into the field where they're going. So what we're going to try to do is, even though we've got a nice quarter going here to the next little food zone, we like to get in the flat woods where we can see. That's what those deer like to do. They like to be able to see. You're not going to kill a deer coming up and down this road right here. It's just probably not going to happen. It's just nighttime work. But what you are going to do is you're going to get to where he's going to skirt around the outer edges of it, where he can look in, he can watch deer that's already in the field. And one thing that's really, really nice about this spot right here, it's the only real food source these deer have in about 1,000 acres of ground. And when you got that kind of food source, you have concentrated your deer here. It's no telling what'll show up.
David has pre-chosen his hunt site, waiting for the right pre-rut time and for the perfect wind to bow hunt along 2 food sources and a small pond. The idea is to catch the deer moving between plots. Strapping on his steady ready, David prepares for a long afternoon of deer hunting.
We got a good wind. Southwest wind, just what we was looking for. I done got a little hot. I take my vest off. Get my binoculars out.
Well, after using his stealth dust to cover his scent and check the wind, David begins glassing the area for any deer movement. Some does and fawns are spotted, which is usually the order of entry into a food plot, followed later by the bucks.
There's a big deer behind me right here. There's a big buck right behind me.
While David is watching a doe in the food plot, a huge buck just appears behind him, already in bow range. As big old bucks will do, they just stand and look, taking their time. David has to let his bow down after holding it for a minute and a half. The buck moves, but still offers no shot. If David does not look at his horns, maybe he'll make the shot. This is where his steady ready will pay its way.
Oh man, I think I heard him crash. That was a big, big deer. I was afraid to look at his horns, but man, I think that was a big deer. He kept looking at some does right here that went out that way towards that food plot. And he never would give me a straight-on shot until he finally turned sideways. I thought he was going to take forever to give me a shot. I believe it was a good hit. Oh man, that was a big deer. Oh me, I wish you would look. Holy mackerel, Andy. Oh, me. Look at here. I knew it was a good one. I just was afraid to say anything about it to jinx it until we found him. You have got to be kidding me. Look at this. Holy cow, look at that. Oh, man, look at this deer. Gee whiz. That deer's gonna get in the 150 or 60 inch range, maybe better. Holy cow, what a deer. Oh me. Look at his neck swell. He had his attention on some does. And folks, I don't know what we're gonna call this thing, but I got to show you something. I had to let the bow down twice. I held it for over a minute to shoot him. Thank goodness he had his attention out there on those does. But this arm brace helped me hold that bow. Oh, let's just forget that right now. Man, what a deer. Lands have mercy. I wish you'd just look. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Off the main beam 10 pointer with a split G3 on his right side. What a buck. Oh me, thank you, dear Lord. What a buck. What a day.
Harold, one of the changes that we didn't talk about a while ago when we were discussing all these revolutionized archery deals, what about the stands?
Goodness, has that ever been a big change? When I first started deer hunting, and for years, we nail into trees, boards, and make a stand. You know, you don't see it anymore. That's a no-no to nailing in a tree, you know. You don't do it anymore. You got all kinds of stands out. You know, Summit has got a line of stands out. They've got a climbing stand, one of the best in the industry. They got fixed stands. They've got the new ladder stand out. What else would you want?
Yeah, they got an 18-foot ladder stand I'm excited about using. And one more change that I want to discuss. We went from shooting in bales of straws
and dirt banks.
And dirt banks to shooting in a broadhead target like Morrell's new yellow jacket right there. What a way to go.
It's the evening before opening of the Colorado muzzleloader deer season. Richard Turner is here with Adventures Wild, and he's doing some last-minute scouting.
I've spotted my first muley of the trip.
The moon has come full, but on this type of hunt, it shouldn't affect the outcome. This hunt consists of covering lots of country and glassing until you find the right deer. Richard's guide is Patrick Montgomery, a tall, seasoned Westerner who specializes in guiding hunters on deer and elk. Both whitetails and muleys inhabit these plains in the extreme east section of Colorado. On the last day of the hunt, guide Mike Wells finds some bucks and invites Patrick and Richard in on the hunt.
The smallest one's probably, what, 150? Is that what you said?
Yeah. We couldn't get a good look at them, but
is there a wide one in there?
Not,
No.
28.
I wonder if that might be that same group that I'd seen.
He's a good deer.
And that other one, that's is that non-typical?
Don't think
Didn't
so.
see anything non-typical in there. Yeah, because there was a group.
Mike has been guiding Ron Oman and his hunting companion Lou Tolini.
Two of them are nice bucks.
Yeah. Nice enough for you.
I'll shoot the big one.
Yeah.
The other one, the second one is real high horn. He's a nice buck.
Yeah.
Which way are they coming?
They came out over here and they went all the way across, but they're bedded down in this high. Our partner's over there. He's going crazy because he's looking at them.
Yeah.
Lou has filled his tag on a good whitetail. When Mike finds these 3 muley bucks, after they follow them and watch them bed down, Mike brings Patrick and Richard in on the stalk. Using the depression of this creek drainage, in 15 minutes, our hunters are in sight of the muleys.
That buck's just standing right up over this hill in a wheat field. Yeah. So if we sneak along this ditch and get up to where these trees are at, we might have to crawl, another 50 yards or something. But I think we'll be able to sneak up on them and get to where we can get a shot.
Bed back down.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Now Lou is across the creek bottom on top of a hill with the deer in sight. Lou isn't sure our hunters ever see the deer. Without any communication with Lou, Mike and Patrick take their hunters in on these bucks. They'll have to hope that Lou stays put.
Just go up, get single file line. Stay behind this tree. Yeah, we're gonna try to use this tree as cover. So we need to stay single file line, try to stay as low as possible. If you can't crawl, get real low, so.
Using the cover of these cottonwood trees, these guys slowly close the gap. Now we've lost sight of Lou, who was on top of the hill. It's just before our team gets into gun range when they spot Lou standing directly past the alert buck. You can see Lou's orange hat. Now this throws a loop in the hunt. There's no chance for a safe shot, and the deer are getting nervous. There are a couple more bucks somewhere near this deer that you can see. The deer can't take it any longer. They're out of here. This hunt is over. Or is it? Man, that's a much bigger buck than Mike had guessed. Don't go away. You're going to see more of these deer and Lucky Richard. This buck has it all. He is heavy, has long tines, and is very, very wide.
You can see now where miscommunication comes into this. We had a guy out here that was glassing for us. He already shot a nice whitetail the other day. Had him up on a hill, and he spotted the same deer that we spotted. And, I guess he just got crossed up and thought that he might do a good job of pushing him towards us. Well, mule deer, you can't push. They're never going to go where you want them to go, so it's best to let them stay bedded. If those bucks, if we would have just left them alone, they would have bedded right back down. We could have snuck right up here on them, but as it is, maybe here in a little bit, we might be able to get back on them, see if they're bedded down again, try it again, but...
At least you'll be able to tell us where the third one went.
Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to see that other deer, but that was close.